This is 3FM.
I've served previously for 10 years when I lived in the south of the island. I was MHK for Russian. I lost my seat at the last general election and I've resumed my career in social work. And I was undecided whether I was going to stand, although politics is deep in my heart. But what really convinced me is my frustration and misgivings and frankly anger at some of the actions or inactions of the government over the last 5 years, when at the last general election we were facing a financial challenge, and now that's really a financial catastrophe that we need to address, and that's my motivation for standing. No one person, no matter what they promise, could fix it, but I know how the system works. I know how to form alliances. I can be a team player. I'm standing as an independent. I can be independent even if I'm in a minority of one. But it's effectively about building teams, building alliances, building like-minded people behind a cause and holding government at least to account, or frankly being part of government and making government change their practices. Douglas East is an urban area, so we don't have the same considerations obviously as a rural area would have. And we're very much still based on traditional industries. It's the home of the tourist industry as a hub, certainly. So in terms of Douglas East, it's about maintaining good contacts, infrastructure. The fiasco over the indecisiveness of the Douglas Promenade, for example, has not helped any business in Douglas. So we need to get overdue issues resolved quickly. But the issues that are facing Douglas, frankly, are the same that face across the island, and that's the economy. If we keep spending more, significantly more than we're earning, and make good that shortfall by simply dipping into our reserves, it's not sustainable, and it will effectively, inevitably, bankrupt the Isle of Man. I think we need to focus on niche markets. We already have a good product. The Isle of Man is a beautiful place. We all know the heritage attractions that we have. I would very much want to keep the horse trams in their current location. I think it would be prohibitively expensive to shift them and unnecessary. And they form part of a parcel of activities. So we work around what we have rather than trying to attract a whole new niche. I think we go some way towards that. For example, we have a very successful walking festival, but that could be increased and not by government. Government should facilitate private sector coming in and making a profit on the back of a good product. I work as a civil servant, so I am part of the public sector. I am saying that the public sector is too large. The public sector gets paid too much as a block, maybe not individually, although certain individuals I do think are overpaid within the public sector. It's not a competitive market. Generally, the public sector spends money. Generally, the private sector makes money. So we need to balance that mixed economy much more by shifting some of the activities which can properly, safely and appropriately be moved from the public sector, which has just been part of the throw money and throw bodies at it mentality for the last 10 years. And we need to address that by encouraging and privatising, corporatising or working in partnerships with the private sector or the third sector. The Isle of Man is a low crime rate. We do have a very efficient police service. I think the police have taken a hit in the police and the fire service are two examples where they have taken hits in their budget and their personnel, and yet they still function extremely well. And it's heartening that the police chief constable is still reporting that the service is managing well. Every chief constable I have ever known, however, has always said, but bad things will happen if you don't give me more money, or at least keep giving me the amount of money you have. Once you've heard that comment 100 times, it tends to lose its impact. And it was disappointing that the Chief Constable again felt the need to say that, and perhaps inconsistent to a degree with the good news he'd reported previously. Well, we have an open skies policy, and I do think competition is the best market regulator. And we're generally pretty well served by most companies. There's been some stories in the media recently about inconsistent and flights being cancelled at the last minute by one particular company, and I would expect the government would be on that to address that and demand some reassurances that that is a glitch. In terms of our sea trade, Douglas is such a small port relatively that the physical limitations of vessels that could access it on a regular basis are such that it's quite limited. So the Irish ferries, for example, couldn't just call into Douglas even if they were minded to. And why would they? They have a different route. So our route is a discrete one. I think we're well served by the steam packet for a small community. in market terms, a very small community. We have a daily service pretty much 360 plus days a year, pretty reliable, not cheap, but I think there's no evidence that Steampax has been profiteering. So all of that would lead me to think that we shouldn't throw the baby out with the bathwater until we have a much better deal on the table. But we should always look for a better deal, because if one is available and it's legitimate and it's competitive, then that will be good for the Isle of Man.
More music for the Isle of Man.
3FM.